This is perfect for the Toronto Raptors as they selected Jakob Poeltl with the number 19 overall selection in last night's NBA draft, and he is the perfect mold, the perfect fit for what the Toronto Raptors are trying to construct and build right now for their roster. So we're going to break down what this means for the team, what it means for guys like Trent Jr., who play a similar position, and futures are uncertain with this Raptors organization, and what it means for the squad going forward, because as I mentioned, the way this team is going, projecting, building around Scottie Barnes, RJ, these types of players, Jakob Poeltl looks like a perfect sort of asset to add to the mix in terms of what we are building with this Raptors group. But let's take a look at who Jakob Poeltl is. Let's not waste any time because Jakob Poeltl is a guy that's only 19 years old. I've seen him listed anywhere from 6'4" to 6'6". Before you enter the NBA draft, you get a bunch of different listings and stuff, but your average shooting guard height, and just a player that 200 pounds is a versatile scorer. He was mocked to go around, the pick 16 through 14 range, so I wanted to declare him a steal because, again, that's still a similar range to where the Raptors were selecting, but he did fall back in the draft, which is a huge positive, and Bobby Webster spoke out about how excited he was about Jakob Poeltl getting there, but diving into his intangibles, has close to a 40-inch vertical, right? Has a quick shuffle and sprint, and has a 6'10 wingspan, which is ridiculous for a guy that's 6'4", 6'6". Long arms. That physical profile at that wing spot is awesome coming in for this Toronto Raptors group. And looking at the stats, right? 14.5 points per game, 4.4 rebounds, good sort of hustle versatility there, 1.1 steals. The assists aren't on another level. He's not much of a playmaker for his teammates, in terms of getting others involved, and on that front, at least he wasn't in college. Shot 34% from behind the three-point line, which, again, isn't crazy, but took 6 3 attempts a game, and one of the biggest values, one of the biggest positives for Jakob Poeltl coming into this group is his three-point shooting ability. And essentially, that's what the pros and cons lists are saying about Jakob Poeltl here now at this point. I won't read this whole sort of pros and cons verbatim, but essentially, they're saying that the 34% won't blow you away as a three-point shooter, but on the volume that he's shooting, he maintained a really solid shooting season during his only year in college. Did have a slump towards the end of regular season action, but he's able to hit shots off the dribble, coming off of pin downs, coming off of different screens, which is essential, right? For guys that are going to be spot-up shooters coming into the NBA, Jakob Poeltl is going to be a player that not just going to be able to make, your set sort of slow-mo threes. He's going to be able to come off of different actions from the corners, from above the break, and knock down those shots, which is a huge, huge positive for this team moving forward. And then also, right, he can also play defense. His size that we just broke down projects really well on the defensive end of the floor. Poeltl has ideal percentages and physical ability to become a similar player to Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a 3-and-D player. He's 6'5" with a 6'10" wingspan and has competitive edge in his game. The competitiveness and work ethic will be important for scouts wanting to know if he'll be able to continue to develop. It will also assure them that he'll continue to capitalize on his upside and improve areas of concern. So those are the positives. In terms of the negatives, first things first, Poeltl's major concern is answering the question of how good he actually is on defense. The physical profile and flashes are one thing, but the results are inconsistent. Too many times, Poeltl has been seen giving up straight line drives and off-ball position, and who reliably projects for a 3-and-D role player. But his defense being legit is a huge concern, but scouts are determining if the defensive mishaps or inconsistencies are easy fixes or will be a major sort of swing factor in terms of if he gets selected, and he obviously got selected 19th overall. But this overall issue highlighted further when you consider the athlete, when his lack of self-creation and playmaking. While he's a good athlete and a good frame, he isn't necessarily explosive and doesn't have an advanced handle. Again, since he doesn't project to create his own shots and be a primary playmaker, it limits kind of his ability to be a superstar out there in the NBA. And that's all fine. That's all well and good. That's a pros and cons. He is a movement shooter with an athletic frame, very mobile, can hit all types of different three-point shots, but isn't going to be much of a facilitator, a guy with the ball in his hands, creating a bunch of things. But frankly, I'm not too worried about that because right now, in our current core group of young players that are developing and blossoming for this Raptors group, IQ, RJ, and Scottie will all need the ball in their hands. So if we have Jakob Poeltl and Gradey Dick coming off the bench as players that can be impactful, can play defense, can, swing a game without necessarily needing to be elite creators, trying to do things for other people. That's exactly the type of players that the Toronto Raptors need in their young core to develop and move forward in the future with this team moving in that direction, going positive. And essentially, everyone's really excited by this pick. Basically, Bobby Webster, the Raptors GM, has come out and said that we feel fortunate to get Jakobi at this spot. He's a kid we followed since high school, and he's always been a winner. Tough, fits the mold of a two-way Toronto Raptors player. And it felt like this is pretty genuine, as Walter said that he had no indication that the Raptors were going to select him and didn't have a workout with the Toronto Raptors. So essentially, Jakob Poeltl is a guy that essentially probably didn't expect to fall this far into the NBA draft, fall at number 19. Again, a lot of those draft selections, those mock drafts, they had him kind of going at number 16 overall. That's the couple I pulled just before I recorded this video. So the fact that he fell to the Toronto Raptors is a huge positive, is a huge plus for this team. And people are just excited about him coming to the squad. Again, more scouts are coming and saying the bottom line is he can flat out shoot the basketball. He can shoot it off the catch. He can shoot it off the move. And he can flat out score. So that's what Tim Legler had to say about Jakob Poeltl coming into this group. And I'm excited. I am excited about him being a player to come into this Raptors team and just have an impact, to be able to be a scorer off the bench, because we need more and more dudes. Yes, we're loaded at the shooting guard position. We have RJ, Gradey Dick, Gary Trent Jr., and Bruce Brown, all very, very strong wing players in the NBA right now. And I'm happy in our young core group timeline, we have someone that's going to be able to knock down threes, play defense, and develop the right way in this Toronto Raptors organization. So that's who Jakob Poeltl is. Again, probably not a steal. He didn't fall crazy deep lengths in the draft, but definitely a player that is a perfect fit for this group. But him being a perfect fit kind of indicates one guy that has been on this team might not be for this team moving forward in the future, and that's Gary Trent Jr., who is a guy that I really like. I enjoy his, the star boy out there getting buckets, being a volume scorer for the Toronto Raptors. But right now, there hasn't been really any updates about his, impending free agency, what the Toronto Raptors are going to do. We know he's probably going to command roughly $17 to $20 million annually out there on the open free agent market. But given his inconsistent play, given his up and down performance, and now with the Toronto Raptors, obviously last year drafting Gradey Dick and this year drafting Jakob Poeltl, this is a tough sort of position the Raptors are in with Gary Trent Jr. You don't want to let the asset walk for nothing, but again, they couldn't get much for him in previous trade deadlines and previous off seasons or anything like that. He hasn't been the sort of player a lot of Raptors fans were hoping he'd develop into. So it's going to be a tough call. It's tougher now with more and more younger guys. Even a lot of our two-way guys, the players we brought in the second half of last season play that wing position as well. So Gary Trent Jr.'s future is more up in the air with the Toronto Raptors now at this point. We'll see how it all shakes out, how it all plans. But let me know what you guys think about this selection for the Toronto Raptors. Do you think this means Gary Trent Jr. is on his way out? Are you happy with the pick? Grade it down below. I'm grading it an A-. Would have been an A if we got Zach Edey, one of those guys. But I think for what was available, what was on the board, I am very, very happy with the selection. Now, we'll see what the Toronto Raptors do at pick number 31 tonight. But folks, you guys are the best thing as far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.